Hey, got some good news for you.
Oh, awesome. Fernando's car's finally working? Like he got his upgrades?
We've been analysing the pace compared to our rivals, and it looks like we'll be very competitive. Keep up the good work.
Oh. Oh, that's it. See, I was actually hoping to have a competitive teammate, but, I mean, that's okay. But, I do wonder what, Fernando Alonso's impression of Chris is. He must be the most incompetent person on the planet in his eyes. He's not doing his job. But welcome, guys, to episode number 47 of this F1 2017 career mode. This time we're here for the Austrian Grand Prix. I almost said Russian Grand Prix. I don't know why, but these random names often just pop into my head for no apparent reason. And that was the case once again right there. But here we are in qualifying. As you guys know, the performance of this car is so good that we really don't even need to show the first part of qualifying anymore. It's almost a given that we'll make it through, so it's a little bit pointless just going through there. But as we move on to Q2, things get a little bit more interesting. We are diving onto the super soft tyres, and we're going to try and attempt the one stop in today's race. So, yeah. Even though we lead the championship by, 28 points or something ridiculous like that. That was a nice lag spike out of the final corner though. Gets us up to P5 in the end, so lucky to avoid that. Even though we're 28 points in the lead of the championship, we are still going ultra aggressive here to try and get any kind of advantages we can because, as you guys know, we're still, not quite there in terms of the front-running pace of the top teams. Yes, Canada was the odd exception where we were the fastest car for some reason. With Baku, we clearly weren't the fastest car. Ferrari are still, I don't know, half a second in front of us in terms of raw performance. So, yeah, we need every advantage we can get. And heading into qualifying 3 now, we're going to have 3 runs in this session if we can attempt to squeeze all of those in. This is our second run now, I believe, on the ultra soft tyres. 3 laps worth of fuel. And we're going to go for an absolute blaster. You can see, not really making any gains on my previous lap. My banker was really good, so I didn't really have much to build upon for these final 2 stints. But as you can see here, we're just making incremental kind of gains here as we go through the final sector, really maximizing those final 2 corners. It must be said, with the 2017 cars and the handling, those final 2 corners feel amazing to just fly through. And that it was something as well, when I watched the Austrian Grand Prix this year, it was so satisfying to watch the drivers just fly through those corners with pinpoint accuracy. There was just something so satisfying about that. We need more tracks like this on the F1 calendar. But as we head out for the final stint of qualifying 3, we only have just under 2 minutes to go in the session. I didn't trust the game to send me out automatically. I think we would have ran out of time. The AI card takes a little bit longer than what a regular person would to drive around and do the lap. So yeah, I decided to take it upon myself, do the lap myself, and try and get myself on the front row. This is all the little 1%ers we've got to think about now that we're in a championship battle. I don't need the track position, to be honest, because I'll get it later on in the race, but I still want it, and I still want to be at the front.
This isn't a good lap. Abandon it. Return to the pits.
Wow.
Box.
What? Jeff, what are you talking about? He's telling me to give up. He's telling me to give up the lap, even though we're up on this lap. That is outrageous from Jeff. He's made some horrible calls in the past. This one is right up there. We're going to press on and prove him wrong. And if we get pole position, that would be the ultimate slap in the face to Jeff for making that decision. But I've lost my train of thought as to what I was talking about. Yeah, I want to be at the front with the Ferraris and try and slow down Sebastian Vettel if I can. He's also qualified on the Supers in Q2, by the way. Through the final couple of corners, absolutely love it through here. This is quickly becoming one of my favourite sections in Formula 1, right up there with the Monaco 3rd sector. But we go across the line, and it is only 5th place, 4.5 tenths shy of Kimi Raikkonen's time of a 1 minute 5.6. We're in the 5s now. This is outrageous. I remember in F1 2016 when we were creeping into the 7s. I thought that was amazing lap times, but 1 minute 5s. Oh man, that's crazy. Can you imagine if we continue this career mode for another season or 2, we could be in the 4s. That is season 10. Can we get a 59 second lap time? Is that a little bit too much wishful thinking? I think it is. But anyway, it's 5th place. That was ultimately our pace. That was probably the best qualifying lap we've stitched together. Right up there with Canada, I say. We got the absolute maximum out of the car. So, as you can see, 4.5 tenths away from the Ferrari of Kimi Raikkonen on a really good day for us today. on a really good lap. So that really is a true indication of where our car stands. And this is a really short lap time as well. So on a normal track, this could be an even greater margin. That's simply down to the downforce that this car kind of lacks. And we are slowly addressing that as this season goes on. But that's qualifying for the Austrian Grand Prix. Time for the race. Let's see how we do.
A tough race in store then for our drivers today, so tell me, Anthony Davidson, what will you be looking out for as the cars make their way down into turn 1?
Well, first of all, let's hope that everyone's well behaved and we can have a nice incident-free start. That initial release is going to be the most interesting thing. The clean side of the grid will be better rubbered in, so keep an eye out for cars over there potentially making their way through.
This is a really good starting position for us. Let's try not to lose it.
Thank you very much, Jeff, and welcome, guys, to the grid for the Austrian Grand Prix. It looks like we're going to be doing the 1-stop, but only just. It's only 5 seconds faster than the 2-stop, which is, you know, in relative terms, it's not much of a difference, really. It'll just come down to, you know, traffic for the 2-stoppers, depending on how much of that they get, and really, yeah, just whoever's faster will probably come away with a race victory today. We're going to be going for the 1-stop, though, starting on the super soft tyres. Sebastian Vettel is on the same strategy as I am, like I mentioned in qualifying, so it should be a pretty interesting race. Both the Mercedes on the front 2 rows of the grid. Kimi Räikkönen, our championship rival, starting from pole. It's going to be an interesting race. 5 red lights and away we go for the Austrian Grand Prix. It looks like a really nice start versus Sebastian Vettel. We were on the cleaner side of the grid, so we had more grip to play with off the line, and we find ourselves in P4. I think that's Sergio Perez getting up into P5 as well. So Sebastian Vettel got off to an absolutely terrible start, and I think he's getting overtaken by another car further down the field. But as we head into turn 2 now, Hamilton goes up the inside of his teammate Valtteri, and that is the 2 Mercedes boys going side by side as they run into turn 3 now. And this is just inviting me into the party completely, and Kimi Räikkönen at the same time is completely bolting away in this Grand Prix. So we're going to stay on board here and watch this Mercedes duo duke it out for second place in this Grand Prix. Hamilton tries to hold around the outside there, nothing really doing there, has to slot in behind and bide his time for now. As we head on to lap 2, looks like Lewis is losing a little bit of touch to Valtteri, but then Valtteri finds his momentum and actually starts closing in Räikkönen and actually dives up the inside into turn 2. So, bit of, you know, what's the term? Swings and roundabouts, yo-yos, and I don't know. I'm just making it up as I go along here. But as you can see here, this is the gaps of the cars behind. There's a massive gap between us and I think it's Daniel Ricciardo behind, who's now overtaken Sergio Perez, and Sergio Perez is still in front of Sebastian Vettel off the start there. So yeah, interesting Grand Prix that's unfolding so far. Räikkönen now under attack from Hamilton now, so even though Räikkönen got an amazing start, had the margin over the 2 Mercedes cars, he just doesn't have the pace versus those guys, and he's just being absolutely monstered in the opening laps of this Grand Prix, and now he's going to fall victim to us potentially, as we have DRS Rich Revs as well. We're going to dive to the inside as we go into turn 3. Räikkönen leaves the space, and it is job done. A bit of contact there. Hopefully I didn't lose any of my front wing, but we've got P3. We just need to hold around the outside now as we go through the fast left-hander. I think, yeah, Räikkönen's got us back. He squeezes the door shut there, and that is us back down to P4. A lot of dirty air there, just getting completely washed out there with understeer through the fast left-hander. That was ridiculous how pronounced the dirty air was through there. But yeah, as we carry on for the next few laps, we completely lost touch with Räikkönen, and I was really confused because we had so much pace, and we were closing to the cars behind, and team radio, hang on a second.
Okay, we're not seeing any issues with tyre wear right now. You should have good grip for a while yet. There's less tyre deg than we feared. They should last a while.
I had to check with Jeff because it was really weird how I just suddenly lost all of this pace. We were making so much ground, so much momentum on the cars ahead, but now, after that little skirmish with Räikkönen, we've just lost all pace. And while I was driving, I didn't suspect front wing damage because nothing came up on the graphic. There was no bits that went flying off from what I could see, but I thought it was my engine. I thought it was overheating, but now that I actually watched this footage over and I've edited it, I feel like I did lose a bit of my front wing. Even though it doesn't really look like it's missing, but there's something that like inherently has gone wrong with this car because I've just lost all pace. I'm now a second and a lap slower, than what I was previously. I think my previous best was a 9.5. I'm currently in the 10s. I can't even get in the 9s when it comes to overall lap time now, so I'm really struggling for pace right now. Even though everyone else has stopped and we've inherited the lead, we're not going to win this race at this rate, but we can still die trying in the second half of this race. We actually have turned the change front wing option to yes, which what I should have done in my league race around China. But as you can see there, from the pit stop, there was no change of the front wing. So if there was front wing damage, it definitely wasn't changed, and that's what I was fearing in that original league race. But yeah, for the rest of this race, we've got to deal with, I don't know, I really don't know what the explanation is for the lack of pace. If you guys saw something that I didn't, please let me know, because I still don't know for certain. But I'm going to move on and just forget about it if I can. Lap 17, near enough to halfway through this Grand Prix now. We're trying to catch up to Carlos Sainz up ahead, who hasn't stopped yet. So we're still looking at effective P4. Both Raikkonen and the two Mercedes cars are going to squabble it out for, you know, the podium positions. But for us, though, it's a case of almost damage limitation now, just making sure we finish in 4th place and stay in front of Sebastian Vettel and both the Red Bulls behind. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But there's a yellow flag up ahead. Sebastian Vettel is one of those cars. Is it Sebastian? It is Sebastian Vettel. It looks like he's got a puncture of some kind on the left rear. He pulls off to the side, and he might be out of this Grand Prix very early in this race. But as you can see, they're going through turn 1. It is the left rear puncture. Yeah, really odd there. He's pitted onto a set of ultra soft tyres, and that must have been a dud set because, yeah, they're pretty new, or maybe even just ran over some debris or something. But yeah, you can see all those cars zooming past. That is a bit of a hazard as well. Like, any closer in those cars would be colliding with Sebastian, and we'd have an almighty crash. You know, I wouldn't put it past the AI sometimes. They really are pretty clumsy. But as you can see there, Vettel's really slow return back to the pit lane. I was constantly flashing back, well, not flashing back, I was constantly looking back in the replay cameras to see what was going on with Sebastian, because I thought, you know, sooner or later someone would collide with him, especially if he's going at like 5 miles an hour on the apex of fast, high-speed corners. But no, it looks like they all navigate that fine. Sebastian may well get away with this, but he's going to lose a lap to pretty much everyone in this Grand Prix.
Raikkonen is ahead of you. The gap to the car ahead is 18.0 seconds. They're pulling away from us at a rate of 1.8 seconds per lap. They're on old softs. The time last lap was a 1:8.7.
So that's pretty demoralizing. That's pretty worries. What's the word I'm looking for? That's pretty dire. 1.8 seconds a lap we're losing to Kimi Raikkonen, and like, honestly, that is not a true indication of our pace right now. We've got a Force India pulling off to the side. I believe that's Esteban Ocon out of this Grand Prix. But yeah, 1.8 seconds to lose over the course of a lap. That does not seem right to me. It absolutely does not. There's got to be something wrong with this car that I'm not picking up on. The engine is fine. All of our components are still in the green. Tyre life, you know, we've got the exact same tyres as Kimi Raikkonen as we turn across the face of Lewis Hamilton through the penultimate corner. That was a bit scary. But yeah, a bit of understeer there at turn 1. That was probably just me being a bit lazy and a bit under pressure from Hamilton. Really starting to feel the effects of having to get on with it in this Grand Prix, trying to make up for a car that is clearly not on form today. But we try and hold around the outside of turn 2. Not really working there. We'll chuck it up into rich revs. I don't know how much longer we can defend from Hamilton from like this, because we don't have much fuel to play with either. But we'll see what we can do. Try and go slow in, fast out of turn 3. Just didn't have the tyres to really do that, or the grip, and Hamilton just got away. So it looks like we might be again contesting over 4th place. It was going to be a spot on the podium after Sebastian Vettel's worries, but now things are looking pretty dire, especially with Hamilton doing the 2-stop, and he's already overtaken us, or is he yet to make another stop? Either way, Hamilton is now in front of us, and with the pace he has, even with another stop, I think he'll overtake us. You can see tyre wear still, it's not that bad, like 30-odd% after 30 laps. And yeah, our fastest lap as well hasn't really improved all too much from the start of the Grand Prix. We've only improved by 0.3, and we set that fastest lap previous. It was like a 9.5 before the damage, or a supposed damage. But, yeah, alright, we'll get on with it. This is Kimi Räikkönen, of all people, taking back the lead of the Grand Prix with only a few laps to go from Valtteri Bottas. Like, literally, Kimi Räikkönen had terrible pace in the first stint, and now he's come alive on the soft compound tyres and has overtaken both of the Mercedes cars and got himself back in a winning position, which is going to spell absolute chaos for my championship. He's going to be cutting into that quite considerably, especially if Max Verstappen gets me up the inside here into turn 1. I'll be scoring 10 points today, whereas Kimi Räikkönen will be getting the full complement of 25, so we absolutely cannot allow Max Verstappen to get in front of us in this race. We'll try and go late under brakes here into turn 2, round the outside, lean revs, trying to minimise the wheel spin over the DRS, and we have retained P4 for now. Here's another little replay here. We're kind of touching tyres on the run up to turn 2. We did our best to hold around the outside, and watch here on board with Max. He just loses so much momentum on the exit of the corner. For some reason, he just like steered left and completely killed his momentum. That allowed me to actually save a lot of fuel for the second half of that lap, and now we can probably more comfortably get to the end of this Grand Prix now, as Max is once again on the charge as we head into turn 3. Nothing really doing there. We had that covered off fairly nicely. A cheeky little lock-up as well to go with that, so that's not really going to help the tyres all too much as we head on to pretty much the final lap. Now we're also getting a message from Jeff giving us a warning about the power unit. It is now ticked over to 50%, so as soon as you get into that yellow kind of section of the life of the engine, you start to lose performance, and yeah, that's probably the last thing I wanted to hear heading on to the final lap. So we're going to try and work a little bit harder to break the slipstream to try and keep our track position if we can. We run lean revs through turn 1, chuck it back up into rich revs just to maximise the straight line speed on the straight. And then as soon as we get to turn 2, we back down to lean revs to save even more fuel and look after the rear tyres. This is something you constantly need to be on top of when you're trying to competitively race. That is not a way to competitively race there at turn 2. Completely lost the back end there off the curb, and now, not Räikkönen, this is Verstappen, has a little bit of an opportunity heading into turn 3. Doesn't really do anything with that though. The Red Bull straight line speed isn't really helping him out there, and that allows us to kind of have a little bit of a breather there as we go through turn 3. This is Räikkönen winning the race, 25 points for him. So no matter what happens now for us, we are losing points in the championship, but I prefer to lose, 13 points rather than 15. So let's stay in front of Max if we can through the final couple of corners. 7th gear through here. There is no way he's going to overtake us now unless we run out of fuel, which that is not a danger either. 4th place for the Austrian Grand Prix. Bit of a disaster, really.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
And as we can see, it's time for the podium, and as the drivers make their way out, there's a familiar red suit making its way to the top step. Fantastic win for Ferrari.
So there you go. Kimi Räikkönen wins the Grand Prix, and this is just a warning, like, to never get complacent in this championship. I wouldn't get complacent anyway, but this is just like a really stern warning to show like how quickly things can change. We lost 12 points in the driver's standings today. I think we were leading by 28 points heading into this race. It'll now be, I don't know, something like 16 points. So yeah, with Räikkönen, if you have a bad race, you can fall off the podium and you can lose a whole shed load of points, especially when your rival wins the race. So yeah, really frustrating Grand Prix because we showed so much pace in the first few laps, and then as soon as we caught up to Räikkönen, we kind of touched side pods, and then after that, we just mysteriously had no pace for the rest of the Grand Prix. There's got to be something up there. The fastest lap we set was like a 9.5 in the first stint. We set that on like lap 2 or 3, and then for the rest of the race, the only lap we could manage was a 9.2, and that was with much lower fuel, so something's up. I'm going to stop banging on about it, but that's kind of an overall gist of what happened to us in the race. We've lost the second as well in the constructors. I think it was bound to happen anyway due to not having a competitive teammate, but in terms of the resource points, we can probably do another downforce update, and I think I might go for the front downforce heading into Silverstone. That'll be a pretty good way to boost the performance, and hopefully we can get the major drag reduction upgrade as well, all in one hit, heading into the British Grand Prix. So if that all goes to plan and all goes to the car, that could be a massive kind of boost for us in the championship. Could get us alongside Mercedes, possibly. We're fairly close now. We're actually going to be drawing alongside them in terms of raw downforce. versus those guys. But pace-wise, I think we could be fairly close to Mercedes. I think Ferrari's the fastest car right now. Mercedes would be second. Red Bull third. I feel like we're kind of just faster than Red Bull, depending on the track right now. But with those upgrades, we would comprehensively be faster than Red Bull, in my opinion. But there we go, guys. That has been this episode for today. Hopefully you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And see plenty more F1 2017 videos. Looking at the chart there, this is actually our first race where we legitimately haven't finished on the podium. So, I mean, if, like, 4th place, I said it at the end of the race, if that's a disaster, I guess that's kind of like an indication as to how good this season has been so far. I really can't complain. Still in the lead of the Drivers' Championship, but let's minimize these kind of bad days that we're having and keep it consistent. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next race, the British Grand Prix, I'll see you next time.